if the world means essentially nothing to Allah, then what is it that Allah wants? What is it that means something to Allah? When we look at the Quran, in Surah 22, Ayah 37, it is not their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah. It is your piety that reaches Him. In a Sahih Muslim hadith, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Verily, Allah does not look at your appearances or your wealth, but rather, He looks at your hearts and your actions." In another hadith, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Wealth is in the heart, and poverty is in the heart. Whoever is wealthy in his heart will not be harmed no matter what happens in this world. And whoever is impoverished in his heart will not be satisfied no matter how much he has in this world. Verily, he will only be harmed by the greed of his own soul." And so what we find here is that what is important to Allah is your heart. This is what matters to Allah. This is what Allah wants. Allah wants a benevolent, good, faithful, soft, humble heart. When you have a sound heart, out of that sprouts action. Out of that sprouts true faith. Out of that sprouts a true practice of Islam, which is surrender to the Creator of the worlds. And this is why we need to make efforts to protect our hearts and not be completely oblivious to the things that go on around us and how they affect our hearts. When I was teaching my children a few months ago, I was telling them, I said, my goal when you grow up, inshallah, if you make it to the age of 18, you make it to the age where you're going to leave our home and go off on your own, whenever that is, my goal is not to get you to pray. My goal is not to get you to fast. My goal is not to get you to give in sadaqah. That's not my goal. My goal is to build up the faith in your heart. That's my goal. I want you to truly believe in your heart in Allah. I want you to truly love Allah in your heart. I want you to truly love the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, in your heart. I want you to truly love Islam in your heart. If you really have that in your heart, then you'll be praying. You'll be fasting. You'll be giving in sadaqah. You'll be doing what Allah expects you to do as much as you possibly can, to the best of your ability. And I think this is the problem with many of us, is that we put the cart before the horse. We teach our kids, you have to pray, you have to fast, you have to give in sadaqah, you have to do all these things, and we make a very long list for them. But we don't put enough emphasis, in my opinion, on having iman and taqwa. And then when they leave our home and they leave our presence, they don't do those things. That's because in many cases, they're praying and they're doing all these good things to please us. Because the fear and respect for Allah has not been instilled deep in their hearts. And by the way, I have this concern right now with my own children. I'm struggling in this effort. But we have to try. And one big thing we can do to help, in my opinion, is we need to set the example in our own selves. We need to focus on our heart. The heart is the key to success. And that is the Meccan phase. If you look at the history, the seerah, that's the lesson for us. The message that came down focused not on all the rules, not on prayer and fasting and all these long lists of things that the Muslims and the believers had to do. It focused on faith. The first 13 years, look at the ayahs that were revealed. Most of it had to do with believing in the hereafter, believing truly in Allah, believing that the angels are watching you, believing that there's going to be a day of judgment, believing that you're going to die and you're going to be accountable. And so once the faith was ingrained in the early community's hearts, then the rules came in the Medinan phase, mostly. The rules of prayer came. The rules of giving up alcohol came. And it was so easy for them to give up. They can give up the dunya because they had the faith in their heart. It was easy for them to pray, to do the requirements, because they had the faith in their hearts. Now, am I saying that we neglect or downplay the rules and that we shouldn't teach our children to pray, fast, or do the practices? Of course, I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that we need to give equal importance, if not more importance, to building sincere faith in the hearts. And that we cannot only be concerned with rules, rituals, and practices. We need both faith and practice. We need to teach and implement both, with the understanding that, at the end of the day, it's all about the heart. And I've said this in many khutbahs before, and I'll say it again. And I firmly believe this. And I'm not a scholar, so I don't know if I'm right on this. My opinion, that every single teaching in Islam and every single practice can somehow be connected back to the heart. That it has something to do with your heart, with getting your heart to be sound, getting your heart to be softened, getting your heart to move closer to Allah, somehow or some way. And finally, we read in the Quran, in Surah 26, Ayah 88 and 89, and this is actually my favorite verse in the entire Quran. And it says, "On the day of judgment, there will not benefit anyone, wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart." So we ask you, O Allah, please grant us a sound heart. Ameen. Forgive us for all of our sins and our shortcomings, and bless us with the best of this life and the best of the hereafter, and shower your mercy and your blessings upon Prophet Muhammad, his family, and his companions until the end of time. Ameen. Aqimus salah.